Chapter 8, the Granddaddy of All Fears. Once Adam and Eve willingly surrendered their God-given thrones to Satan, they gave him their rightful place or authority and power as the god of this world. The devil, in turn, unlocked the entrance to the supernatural world of the demonic. This act immediately ushered in various evil spirits into the earth's realm. Every one of them had an insatiable appetite to be worshipped and to have thrones over established territories. These otherworld entities intensely sought to subjugate humanity, causing them to carry out their depraved longings. They needed slaves to conduct their sick, twisted purposes and plans. I and these depraved psychos require bodies to execute our wills in the earth. The human race is the sole creature equipped on this sphere, by me, to effectively function and live simultaneously in the supernatural and natural world. Mankind's spirits intimately connect them with the spiritual universe, while their bodies bound them to this terra firma. For example, if you are in space, then you must have a spacesuit. If you are in the ocean, then you need scuba gear. These unique types of apparatuses enable you to survive and properly operate in these different atmospheres. In like manner, your spirit is your ensemble for the supernatural world, and your body is your wardrobe for the natural. Each one of these specialized suits equips you to excellently live and maneuver in these exclusive environments. I have unapologetically formulated it to be this way. As a result, every spiritual force must have access to a physical frame to proclaim their message and execute their methods in the earth. If you are sincerely living life to please me, then I may only work through you while you possess your body. Once you lay down your physical frame, your spirit enters and remains permanently in the supernatural universe. At this point, I must have another body now to execute my endeavors in this planet. For this reason, I reach through your worshipfuls to recruit and convert others to my joyful, loving salvation. I will also use you to grasp for the next generation so that I remain alive and functioning in this world. These principles, the enemy of your soul understands and utilizes quite well. This is why Satan and the hordes of hell intensely evangelize people to be doers of their wills, promising them power, money, prestige, and fame, while all along leading them to destruction. Whether you want to acknowledge it or not, you will import either mine or Satan's purposes and plans. Your resolve, loyalty, and love are either towards me or Satan and his dutiful evil spirits. It always comes back to the two trees in the midst of the Garden of Eden. You must compose the consistent decision of which tree you are willing to partake in, assimilate, and multiply. Because you were designed by me to worship, then homage is what you're obliged to fulfill. There is no choice concerning whether to worship or not to worship. Instead, it all comes down to whom you will grant your devotion and love towards. You will worship someone or something. You will award either me or the devil as the father or a father of your spirit, soul, and body. Whomever you pick and remain loyal to is the one whose image and likeness you will adorn for now and eternity. Consequently, choose considerately. I repeat this truth to you. I, as the loving God, don't send you to hell. You commission yourself to hell in accordance with whom or what you have consistently chosen to worship and to obey. As the loving God, I love you enough to give you your steadfast decisions. If I am not the one whom you joyfully embrace, then I will release you to Satan, who is your obvious selection. Remember, there are only two options. When you reject me, you have automatically chosen to worship the evil one. I did not create hell for you. The eternal place of torment was formulated for the devil and his demonic angels. It was constructed for the everlasting punishment of Satan, who sought to overthrow me and take my place as the one true God. Included are the deranged angels who supported Satan in his anarchy. They have no choice but to abide in this dark, gloomy, and loveless abode. I didn't create these creatures to have the right to exercise free will and to make decisions of their own accord. This is the reason why I have never and never will offer them the gifts of repentance and forgiveness. They will never be reinstated into my kingdom. Never. When you attach yourself through your consistent, obedient worship to these demonic deities, you have resolved yourself to live with them forever in their eternal home, hell. In conclusion, well, I do not send you to this fiery place of torture, but you send yourself there through your persistent and steady choices by dismissing me and embracing the will of Satan. Stop blaming me for what you have willingly decided, as if I am the villain because I consented to permit you to have what you've consistently chosen. Yes, your every choice has a consequence attached to it. Be mature enough to take the responsibility for your selections and actions. Stop blaming me and others for your wrong and poor judgments. Cease from all your excuses and make the necessary alterations. Otherwise, be prepared to live with the consequences of your choices. You do not have to go to hell. No one can force you against your will to go to this everlasting nightmare of an inferno. No, Satan and his maniacal maniacs can't make you go to this eternal place of separation from the influence and impact of my loving presence. They don't possess this power because I never granted it to them. It is completely and totally up to you. Just as you can't plant corn and expect, even coerce, it to become watermelon, nor can you look to receive godly rewards from sowing ungodly actions. If you work for Burger King, is it right for you to expect or seek to force its competitor, McDonald's, to pay for your labor? Of course not. This would be considered to be fraudulent and ludicrous behavior. In like manner, you can't work for my enemy, and be entitled to be eternally paid by me. My payment comes in the form of living with me, receiving perpetual, enrapturing revelations of me, being granted access to me forever. It is just this simple and clear. You can't live the life I gave you your way and not accept that you will live eternally with the devil who enacted this maneuver first. This gives the enemy of your soul the rightful claim to anyone who practices this damnable, heretical lifestyle. I did it my way. This theme will send you to hell. Once you are in this fiery abode, there's no get out of hell card. Please, please, please understand, this is not my will for you to be eternally separated from my loving, peaceful, and joy-filled presence. You were created by me to be my eternal loving wife. As you can plainly see, I treat my loyal worshipers quite differently than Satan handles his faithful adorers. In this matter, we are diametrically opposed to each other. I am your exceeding great reward. The closer I allow you to be to me in eternity is the ultimate compensation for all your pain, difficulties, and struggles. Every one of your needs is fulfilled in my presence. You shall never know any form of longing or lacking in any area of your eternal existence. On the other hand, this general of evil and his maniacal maniacs will mock you and increasingly inflict pain upon you based on how you effectively serve them. You shall exist in a constant state of being deprived with no satisfaction to ever be known. the more excruciating suffering you endure, the more satisfaction these demons, psychos, will experience. Consequently, this fact alone incites them to levy increasing levels of agony against you. Is this really a difficult decision to make between which one of us you desire to be with forever? Eternity is too long to be wrong. Once your final decision has been made, it is irrevocable and cannot be altered in any form or fashion. Like I said, there's no get out of hell card. In case you do not realize these demonic deities do not desire to wait for hell to begin to tormenting you. Bear in mind, these demonic demolition crews want revenge against me for spoiling their evil plans and removing them from my heavenly abode. Their highest form of retribution is manifested when they are able to enslave you and persuade you to revolt against me. In turn, you are now imitating them, and this is the highest form of worship. Of course, this automatically begins the process of transferring you from me, being your father, to the premier demon you are worshiping, now becoming your father. At this crucial point, you are being remade into this preeminent demon's image and likeness. You are becoming a child of hell. You are reborn for the purpose of carrying out the will of the head devilish deity you have chosen to bow yourself towards. Yes, this drives a dagger of spurn into my loving, embracing, caring heart. Please, don't permit yourself to be used as a pawn in these satanic hands to exact vengeance towards me. If you consent to being the enemy's puppet, ordered to bring sorrow to my heart, then you also agree to set yourself up to be my opponent. This is hurtful to me, but lethal for you. There has been a formidable foe that effectively employed many of the human race against me. For the reason of retaliation, yes, this spirit has productively moved various members of mankind to oppose and to be contrary towards me. This devastating deity is a heavy hitter against humanity. It has terrorized and paralyzed people since Adam's and Eve's betrayal in the garden. This otherworld entity has effectively ensnared and enslaved mankind, repeatedly tormenting and abusing those who succumb to its will. It is the granddaddy root of all fears in the earth, for it was the first one to enter. It is the fear of death. Recall to mind, I told the first man that in the day he ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, he would surely die. Once they partook of this forbidden fruit, the spirit of the fear of death came raging in like a tsunami, engulfing their entire being. They were incorruptible, but now their immortality had been consensually released from their grasp, and they became subject to pains and sufferings. This was never my intention or my desire, but this was strictly their choice that brought about these abhorrent results. Death, being the apex predator of mankind, caused an immobilizing and imprisoning fear to permeate into every area of its prey's life. Consequently, making the fear of death the granddaddy or root of all fears that would pursue and plague humanity their entire earthly existence. A spawn of the fear of death is the fear of failure. The prevalent fear of failure is simply you believing, accepting, and practicing that your success is going to die within your relationships and your situations. After all, failure is the death of success. Therefore, why even try? Instead, sabotage yourself so that others will not expect or look for greatness from you. The outcome of this corrupt way of thinking and acting is you are seen as unreliable, not trustworthy. Without the key elements of trust and faithfulness, it is not possible to build healthy or enduring relationships. This includes jobs, friendships, potential and existing spouses, because you are often disappointing them and breaking their hearts. They can't consistently count on you. Consequently, there's nothing to construct to establish the rapport on. This phobia can also swing you to the opposite extreme. It can drive you to work yourself beyond human limits, to prove to yourself and to others that you are not a failure. The fear of failure is often the motivating factor behind those who are workaholics. This God, like a slave master, seeks to force you out of godly balance into the arena of the outrageous. It warps your understandings of what are the greatest achievements of life, having you to passionately pursue street or institutional education for the purpose of material gains that are meant to lead you to prestige and high level of respect with your posse or associates. All this at the expense of your relationship with me. You become so engulfed with this deity's concept of success that you give very little or cease from placing your energy into knowing me, becoming like me, and pleasing me. In other words, you do not value the true God that intensely loves you as one who is worth your time and your effort. Instead, it is extremely significant to you to have money, fine clothing, expensive cars, extravagant houses, and a high-ranking position amongst your peers. Your blood, sweat, and tears are exclusively for the betterment of your natural life, without any regard for your spiritual life. You are a fool. Through all you have naturally accomplished, everything you possess, and the great esteem of your posse or peers against the backdrop of eternity. What does it mean? Do you really contain joy, peace, and contentment? What does it profit you to gain the whole world and lose your soul in the process? Sadly, you are also willing to lose your true friends, spouses, and your children to satisfy this internal compulsion to be viewed as a winner and not a loser. All you have actually achieved is to place eternal, gasoline clothing on yourself that will further fuel the burning that you will boundlessly experience in the consuming, agonizing fires of hell. Separated from me forever, while being ridiculed by the premier demon you were obeying and worshiping, dwelling in a bottomless misery and a tangible loneliness. Oh, my son and my daughter, make better choices, please. Don't do this to our forever storybook love affair. Count me as the ultimate treasure that is worth investing all of yourself to intensely seek after. Find and cling to me, no matter what the cost. When you consider me important enough to justify the sacrifices or the prices to obtain and intimately know me, then you will command yourself to worship and obey me with joy. This question stands unapologetically before you. Do you regard me as the essential, highest bounty of your life that validates all the pain and all the suffering you have known? Am I worth the hardship, the cruelties, and the numerous things you hate, do not prefer, or understand? Is there someone or something you value more or esteem higher than me? Only you possess the God-given authority and power to answer these questions for yourself. Remember, when you finally resolve that possessing me is the most significant achievement and greatest treasure in your existence, it will manifest itself in the joyful, willing obedience. You will work intentionally focused effort, excellently, performing everything my way, constantly fighting perpetually. Your determined purposes are: 1, to intimately know me; 2, to be like me in the deepest areas of your character or nature; 3, to please me in all your ways; 4, to make the truth of who I am and what I can perform intimately known to others. I must now discuss those of my children who are motivated to work for me because of this God of the fear of failure. I have too many ministers and saints who intensely seek to gain self-worth, validation, and acceptance through ministry. They passionately seek to prove to themselves and others that they are not a failure. They diligently perform multitudes of good works to accomplish their mission. Consequently, they will fiercely labor for me, but will not passionately and perpetually exert themselves to intimately know me. Simply put, they pursue my hand, my authority and power, and not my face, my mind, and my intimate presence. My children operate on the premises of pleasing me, based on the instructions of this devastating deity. This God of the fear of failure drives my loved ones to pursue my hand for souls being saved, mass revivals, messages preached, finances, miracles. The purpose of all these holy activities is to convince themselves, to persuade people that I am with them, and I am expressly pleased with who they are and what they can produce and what they have obtained. This, in turn, is meant to cement their acceptance amongst great individuals, thereby earning them phenomenal recognition and massive respect. Of course, the danger is you can receive and activate my hand through the use of godly principles, such as the anatomy of faith, yet you are moving more in the capacity of being my maid or my servant, and not in the position of being my wife and my lover. Once again, you are toiling or putting forth great effort to work for me, yet you are not giving such intense strength to know my mind, my messages, and my methods, and my intimate presence, the intricate manifestation or moving of my Holy Spirit. Repent. Change your way of thinking to align with mine. Change the way you're feeling to embrace my feelings. Change your mental position on this subject, and change your direction from walking with this God of the fear of failure to now being intimately joined to me. Remember, I love you so dearly. Please do not assume what pleases me, but consistently inquire from my heart's desires. I will make it crystal clear to you if you will take the time, effort, and patience to ask me. Thank you, my child. If you perform my request of you, it will mean so much to me and to the success of our intimate relationship. I beg of you not to permit this generational God of the fear of failure to win and separate us now and forever. Yes, the God of fear of failure is oftentimes a generational God. This means that it can be found effectively enslaving your forefathers, grandparents, great-grandparents, and great-great-grandparents, etc. It comes down to you through one or both of your parents. In turn, you can find yourself trying to win the attention and approval of your father and your mother, or just being hyper-focused on one or the other. In your quest to gain the coveted prize of acceptance, the God of the fear of failure will entangle you to worship. You're willing to do whatever your parents desire to receive their confirmation of your initial and continual existence. In other words, you perpetually and eagerly look towards them for confirmation and reassurance that your birth was not a mistake and there's purpose for your presence. This hunger can particularly become heightened within you when you realize one or more of your siblings, extended family, or friends are receiving what you feel you need the most. You find yourself becoming addicted to approval. It's like a fix or a drug you must have to feel good about yourself and to feel good about your life. This hellish, cruel deity moves to further imprison you by convincing you that no matter how hard you try, it's never enough, and it's never good enough. Like a hamster running furiously in a squeaky wheel, but not even advancing 1 centimeter. With unbridled passion, you fight to execute numerous deeds and to measure up to the standard or quality required to please your master. It's an unending, vicious cycle. This merciless taskmaster is oftentimes transferred to other significant persons in your life, such as your peers, pastor, boss, or lover. Ultimately, this overwhelming need to please was designed for me. Although this fierce hunger for approval was constructed by me to connect us together in a present love affair and a forever intimate relationship, the enemy of your soul strives to redirect it and control this God-given gift, turning this amazing, gracious endowment that I have placed within you into a hellish nightmare of anxieties, disappointments, disapprovals, rejections, and broken hearts. The true purpose of this beautiful bestowal is to be your motive towards always intensely desiring and fiercely fighting to please me, no matter what the cost. My grace-given approval is your compensation for every sacrifice you have made and every price you have paid. Notice, my acceptance of you comes from my grace, not from your labors. This means my sanctioning of you is the result of my finished work on the cross. Therefore, you receive this by your faith in who I am and what I have done for you. You could never earn my open arms of acceptance. Because of this, you are set free from the influence and control of the God of the fear of failure, who seeks to place guilt, shame, and condemnation upon you, resulting in you not being able to receive my godly joy, peace, favor, and love. This nightmare is over. The same way I receive myself is the same way I will now receive you. If you will, through total dependence, faith, upon me, accept my righteousness, the power to think right, to speak right, to act in godly ways. Of course, this does not mean that you now possess a license to do what you want to do. On the contrary, it means your greatest joy and fulfillment is to please me through the keeping of my commandments. When you embrace my gift of righteousness, you will cease trying to diligently work to earn my favor and my love. You now accept, believe, and practice my gracious impartation as your reality. You move from the standpoint of acceptance into the fulfillment of my will. You stop fighting to possess what you already. Thereby, you are confident in my unconditional love. You refuse any guilt, shame, and condemnation from this God of the fear of failure. You will not allow yourself to be intimidated and terrorized by this demented deity. You are established in the unwavering truth that you possess my acceptance and my favor because of my finished work. Therefore, you joyfully and swiftly move to show your gratitude and love by thinking, perceiving, talking, and acting just like me. I am your hero, whom you strive to imitate. Yes, this makes you a true worshiper of the one true God. Is it crystal clear to you that the granddaddy or root of this slave-driving fear is the God of gods, the fear of death? The God of the fear of death, additionally, is the source of another dominating fear, the fear of tight or constricted places, which causes you to feel like you can't breathe properly or at all. The airways in your body seem to constrict, and your breathing rhythm becomes erratic. It is a crucial attack upon your spirit mind, emotions, and body, giving you the sense of being in deep danger when it oftentimes doesn't exist. This spirit can cause you to act crazy and irrational, yet in your brain, it is all necessary in order for you to survive. Throwing your mind into a place of terror, confusion, and your cognizant abilities into a state of being paralyzed. These spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical ambushes can happen when this God convinces you that people are standing too close to you and monopolizing your scarce and valuable air. There comes this crashing tidal wave of reality down upon you that the walls or heated bodies are closing in, even rapidly descending on you. Some of your solutions are to breathe into a paper bag or quickly run away and escape this real, pressing crisis. The plan in your mind is to secure your own private air supply. Hence, the breathing into a paper bag or the mad bolting into another place, particularly a secluded area. These emotions are so vivid and tangible to you that your response can be a knee-jerk reaction. You simply perform it without being cognizant of what you have done. Your action does not register with you until it is already completed and your mind starts to calm down. Although you may clearly understand that your activity, without a shadow of a doubt, was over the top. In your mind, it is justified because you had to do it to get through this trauma. The fear of tight places is the reason behind your panic attacks and your hyperventilations. It absolutely has you imprisoned while being your cruel, uncaring, and tormenting corrections officer. The warden of this agonizing mental facility is the fear of death. I'll explain the deeper truth of this in a moment. This demonic deity has you so enslaved until it robs you of your precious opportunities and precious memories. It will keep you from flying in planes, causing you not to experience the planet I have created for you to enjoy. Furthermore, individuals or communities you should become connected to may never happen because of the interference of this member of the demonic demolition crew. Hence, the blessings you should be receiving from others and giving to others does not transpire. The lack of established communication oftentimes leads to loneliness and different types of depression. Oh, what needless pains you bear, all because you do not carry everything to me in prayer. You must consistently steadfast against this fear of constricted places, refusing to bow your will to it and the culprit fear behind it. The fear of death is the true administrator of all this torture. Why do you have an issue with confined spaces, including crowds? It is because you feel like you can't breathe. What is the problem with not being able to breathe? You will die, of course. Do you understand that the fear of death is the granddaddy and the root cause of the fear of constricted areas? Nevertheless, you don't have to be ruled by these dominating spirits because I love you so much. I've made all the necessary provisions for you to overcome these devastating deities. These spirits of fear can be explained through their acronym. FEAR equals F equals false or frightening. E equals evidence. A equals appearing. R equals real. The enemy of your soul tortures you by persuading you to believe horrific things. Once you embrace these frightful things as real, then they become your reality. You live and relive them over and over again as they increasingly morph into deeper spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical torment. These demonic entities particularly seek to convey to you that I don't love and care about you. They strive to convince you that you're alone, hopeless, helpless, and forsaken. All of your blood-curdling experiences are these evil spirits expressing to you an exceeding minute sample of their plans to eternally torture you. I permit these foretastes to enable you to make quality decisions concerning who, with, and what you want to spend your everlasting life. My child, you will not be able to say to me that you had no vague ideas or understandings of what it would be like to live forever with Satan and his evil henchmen. You will have tasted or experienced these demonic foretastes numerous times. Of course, you know that Satan is a deceiver. As a result of this undeniable truth, you should expect this master manipulator will also attempt to glorify and beautify who he is and how awesome it would be to live with him forever. Yes, the enemy of your soul will paint an exquisite picture of the fantasy of your fleshly desires. He will lie to your face, telling you how you will rule with him boundlessly. Your every whimsical craving is lavishly satisfied, and all of your enemies shall be crushed under the soles of your feet. How would he be privy to such information? Remember, Satan is the father of the mind of the flesh, even the carnal nature. Therefore, these ungodly ambitions that fill your head come from the wicked one. Believe his presented fluff with no stuff? It's a false narrative, setting you up for an everlasting nightmare. There is no happily ever after with the Prince of Darkness. Now that these understandings are crystal clear, let's move on to the next type of oppressing fear. This particular god of fear found its entrance into the world after Cain killed Abel. Brother slays brother, and it's the first murder in the earth. As the judge of the universe, I sentence Cain to wander from place to place without being able to find a true home, a vagabond. Cain is the first homeless individual. There's a powerful pain found in not belonging, because I've designed you to be social, to have a strong desire to be accepted, and to crave deep connections with your Creator and humanity. The true nature of this murderer's punishment is that he would not be able to secure proper or godly relations with myself and others. Home can also be seen as a metaphor for the heart. Cain could not practice profound godly attachments with the God of all flesh and the members of the human race. He would be a spiritual, emotional, and physical vagabond. The ability that I have granted you to perform and experience these deep connections is home. It's the region found in the depth of the heart. Cain's response to my judicial judgment was to be afraid that whomever he encountered would want to kill him. This first-degree murderer of my image declared his punishment was more than he could handle. Can you imagine that? Nevertheless, my nature is gracious, merciful, and kind, along with righteous. I placed a mark on Cain and declared that anyone who brought retribution on him, they would receive a sevenfold punishment. There is something for you to consider. Could the mark I gave to Cain be giantism? After all, people would think twice before taking on a giant. It's just a thought. Smile. Many things will not be clearly known until you see me face to face. Now, were you able to distinguish the fears that made its appearance after I passed my decree upon Cain? Remember his reply ensuing my verdict? This manslayer was afraid that individuals who came across his path would seek to kill him. Do you recognize them yet? I will now reveal one of these fears and deal with the premier one later. Yes, this is the God of the fear of man. This spirit seeks to intimidate you and make you see yourself as inferior to a particular person or group. It can accomplish this mission through the declaring and enacting of inflicted injuries. The imposing damage can be verbal assaults and bodily harm to yourself, to your family, and to your loved ones. Indeed, bullies, including cyberbullies, those who harass, intimidate, and heavily criticize you from behind some kind of screen like a computer, are all part of these antagonistic posses. Their purposes are coercion to their agenda through some form of violence that causes fear. These predators' plans can range from wanting your valuables, money, shoes, cars, and homes, to shaming you into suicide, convincing and pressuring you through methods like ridiculing and everything else in between. There are notorious leagues where these kinds of action flow freely. Various gangs are known for their scare tactics that incite people to conform to what their demands are, or leave and get out of the gang's territory. Many feel helpless, petrified, and overwhelmed. What am I to do? Becomes their piercing and repetitious internal and or external cry. They absolutely fear for their mental and emotional well-being, along with their lives. No wonder these people feel completely hemmed in and victimized. Sadly, these kinds of delinquent activities reflect and materialize Satan's widespread plan to spread anxiety, insecurities, and excessive spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical torments. This tyrant spirit moves to compel those who possess my image to be either in the role of the jailer or the prisoner, meaning they are the ones imprisoning people by intimidation, or they are the ones being held captive by their captors' tormenting tactics. Yes, it's brother against brother all over again. It goes right back to Cain and Abel. Many of my little ones in school undergo these practices of bullying. Yes, it even happens at work from bosses and co-workers. Sad to say, these intimidators are in my house, church, harassing and sexually exploiting my children. Oh, how my creation has become divided and corrupted from my original plan. This all has happened because of the worship of these demonic deities. Remember, the highest form of worship is imitation. When homage is due towards these demented demons, then all of my creation took on their evil, perverted characteristics of hatred, confusion, fear, disorder, and being contrary one to another. A holy harmony I had instituted into my architectural design of the universe was a true reflection of myself. Everything worked together to maintain and propel the delicate and intricate balance of life. Since the worship of these psychotic spirits, my formation of the natural universe has been polluted and contaminated from my original design. Now, existing inside the inner workings of this beautiful, calibrated material world, a monkey wrench was placed by Satan and his evil hordes of hell that interfered with the go and flow of my natural arrangements. I started, my creation in a particular direction, and it continued, flow, according to my divine plan and divine purpose. This satanic interference caused planets that were forged to cultivate varieties of life to become hostile and destructive towards the conditions that would bring forth and properly sustain existence. Classes or distinctions of predators and prey were established, all contrary to my heart's desire and my original intent. You do realize that hunting in any form did not exist in the Garden of Eden. Neither man nor beast pursued each other for sport or food. Instead, they all ate of the greenery that I had so graciously provided. They supported each other in the continuance of their God-given existence. Because of this new, demoted, and perverted operation of the physical world, the nature of the hunter and the hunted emerged. As you can clearly see, this explains how the bully and the one who's being bullied began. Indeed, with these hostile interactions, the fear of man and the fear of faces erupted and flowed like a tsunami, engulfing and submerging my children. This is an appropriate key point I need to bring forth and clarify. The God of fear and the God of pride oftentimes work exceedingly close with each other. This wicked entity of fear specializes in causing you to be self-centered, which is a form of pride. The illustration I choose to use to endeavorly place the mark onto your conscience is found in two words. The first word is pride, and the second word is sin. What is the middle letter of the antecedent word? Yes, it is the letter I. What is the middle letter of the last word? Correct, it is again the letter I. Therefore, when it's all about I, or being self-centered, that is pride, and that is sin. Do you recall my definition of pride? It is the exalting of your will against my will. The scope of its influence and control ranges from an embraced attitude of supremacy and deeming yourself better than others. This perception generally results into a spirit of entitlement. Of course, this is a form of pride too. The other extreme of pride spectrum is low self-esteem. I am your undeniable maker. As a result of this fact, I and I alone am the only one who is authorized and qualified to proclaim and settle your genuine worth. Trust in what I say. Remember, truth is more than just undeniable stats, figures, and principles. Truth is the ultimate being. I am the truth, and everyone else in comparison to me is a liar. Therefore, when you exalt your will and contradict the value that I've assigned you by either believing and declaring intentionally or externally that you are more illustrious than what I've stated, this is pride. Conversely, when you place your confidence in yourself being worthless and your life meaningless, you perceive yourself of lower value than who I created you to be. Hence, this is why it's called low self-esteem. This is pride. Also, for example, a bully exercising a spirit of intimidation, fear, will oftentimes feel superior in some or all areas to the one they are lording over. Of course, this nature of preeminence is pride. The individuals who are being belittled or browbeaten can believe they are not important, especially to me, and their life is a cruel joke that needs to be over as soon as humanly possible. Yes, this is pride too. Indeed, they are asserting their and others' opinions contrary to my assessment that I have applied to them and their lives. They're exalting their will against my will by accepting, believing, and declaring their worth that is opposing to what I've stated concerning them. Do you see how the God of fear and the God of pride are tag team partners in the devastating destruction of my children? Now that we have this settled about these two demented deities, let's move on to the granddaddy of all fears. This is the fear of death. Again, I call it the granddaddy of all fear because it is the root and foundation of every type of fear. Do you recall me discussing with you Cain slaying his brother, Abel? Remember? This killer of my image expresses his fear that anyone who finds him will seek to murder him. His admission to this fear shows forth the fear of man or fear of faces. Yes, we have adequately covered this subject for now. However, there was a second fear that also made an appearance. At the moment of Cain's exclamation of being afraid of being killed, that we had not yet examined. Before we delve into this next spiritual force, it's imperative that I state these truths to keep you in proper alignment with the God of the universe. Cain hated me. Whatever hates my image hates me. For my image represents me. I need to also make it crystal clear that anyone who hates or detests another member of the human race is a murderer in my eyes. This is one of the key reasons why I emphasize to you the significance of forgiving everyone, even as I have forgiven you. You already know that a hater of me, even a murderer of my image, will not live with me for eternity. Therefore, ask me to teach you how to forgive and to forgive quickly, and also how to be emotionally healed and to be healed quickly. Forgiveness is to release someone, including yourself, from the penalty or punishment of your or their wrongdoings. As you desire me to set you free from the inevitable results of your sins, you must perform this righteous deed for yourself and for others by forgiving. You should not permit yourself to be holding a grudge or nursing an emotional wound for any length of time. This is extremely deadly for you because it gives the enemy of your soul vast opportunities to destroy you. Don't dwell in this vulnerable position. If you seek my face immediately, intensely, and consistently, then I will empower you to forgive and to be healed. There is no doubt that unforgiveness and the ungodly handling of emotional wounds are a heaven and hell issue. Yes, forgiveness is a choice. You must decide that you will not abide in this unholy place of unforgiveness. Indeed, tell the devil, I refuse to stay here with you and die. I choose to abide on the Lord's side and live. Wherever pain was imposed upon you or someone you love, don't allow Satan to turn this temporary, healable heartache into an eternal torment because you would not forgive and be healed. Now, I ask you, is determining that you have every right not to release an offense or to be healed from it worth an unending separation from me that results in an unfathomable, boundless anguish? Why would you permit the suffering that was not your fault determine where you will spend your eternal existence? Of course, you will now be to blame because you choose not to forgive and to be healed. You mean to tell me that you are willingly deciding to hold on to unforgiveness and embrace the pain of the wound inflicted, even though you realize the end result of these decisions will cause you and I to be divided forever? Really? This should be an easy and quick answer for you. Of course not. Fight, my child. Perform whatever it takes not to allow this horrific and heinous crime to take place. Please. I will now return to dealing with the spiritual force that unveiled itself in Cain's concerned statement. This elder brother was sure that everyone he encountered would seek to take revenge for Abel's death by killing him. Do you recognize this demon? It is the fear of death. This is the one thing that I refer to as the granddaddy and the root of all fears. The fear of death is an insatiable, hungry, vicious predator. It relentlessly stalks and hunts you. Ever searching for an opening or an ounce of vulnerability, you will grant it. Once discovered, it will move to mercilessly devour your joy, peace, and strength. Ultimately, the fear of death desires to consume your sanity, thereby causing it to be nearly impossible for you to conduct a meaningful relationship with myself and other human beings. Consequently, sealing your fate of severing and separating our foreordained connection both now and forever. This alpha pillager of the talents and the gifts that I've given to you by my grace intends to bankrupt you of these priceless deposits that I've made within you, leaving you to be poor in spirit, lacking in courage, and transforming you into a shell of who I designed you to be. Believe it or not, but the fear of death is a foretaste and a forerunner to something more terrifying.